All right, what's up, everybody? It's your host, Rueben Wood. It's another episode of SOM Talk Live. So today's special guest that we have is veteran actor Ernie Hudson. He's a star of APB, Blue Bloods, Grace and Frankie. He's also on Lethal Weapon, and of course, everybody should know him from Ghostbusters. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this interview. I hope you enjoy. Make sure you tune in for new podcast episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube, and just follow us on social media at SOM Talk Live at Real Rueben Wood. Let's see. So currently, you're being nominated for an Image Award for 2018.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's kind of cool.
Okay. So
You know.
So tell us about that.
Well, it's great. It's been so long since I was nominated for one. So it's but whenever it comes, it's always a nice feeling. I was nominated, I think, 40 years ago for a play I did called The Great White Hope. But yeah, so it's nice that whenever you work, it's nice that people acknowledge and see it. And I don't put a lot into awards, probably because I haven't gotten that many. But but it's always a nice recognition when it happens.
Right. Okay. So now, how long have you actually been doing acting?
Well, I started acting in 1967. I was in college and I took an acting class and just fell in love with it and started just committed to it. And I've always managed to make a living at it. So that's 50 years. In 2017 was 50 years. So yeah, I the first 10 years I was doing mostly theater, and then did a couple of films in the early 70s, but around 76 is when I got back into television, got started in television and film. So I was in theater mostly about 10 years before I actually really started working in film and TV.
Okay. So now I know you have a long list of actual films and television shows that you've actually been in, because some of them I've actually watched myself growing up. So, definitely congratulations to you for continuing to be progressive even after so long. So that's definitely what's up.
Yeah. Well, it's an interesting business, and I probably, if I had, was able to do something else,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of all I've ever known how to do and all I've ever really felt good doing. So it was never a question about, sticking with it. It's just, and I've been blessed to be able to, like I said, I've always managed to make a living. I was a single dad, so I was able to raise my kids, and acting has been very good to me.
Okay. So now, if you did have to choose something else, what would you say would have been your other occupation if you had a choice?
Well, if I had a choice, I always like drafting and design, architecture, that sort of thing. I don't know if I would have had the courage to do that, because when I started out in the 60s, it was kind of, it felt like that would be hard to break into, even though acting was the same way. But I just had more faith in the acting, and acting never felt like work to me. Whereas studying and some of the other professions just seemed like a job. But if I hadn't been an actor, I think I probably would have pursued something like that.
Right. Okay. So, go ahead.
No, I would say when I started college, I think I just kept switching majors about every semester. It was going to be get into psychology, and then I was going to teach, and then I was going to, and then when I found acting, I knew that this is where it just felt at home.
Okay. So the show that you're currently being nominated for is the Grace and Frankie. So how is it working on set for that show?
No, it's a great show, and what I love about Grace and Frankie, which is a little bit different than a lot of the shows, it's a show that deals with, I don't say senior citizens, but senior citizens. Our society has a way of making you feel like after you pass 50, life is over. But I think the show deals and shows that life goes on and people still, do stupid stuff and fall in love. And, it doesn't, there's no point where, it ends, but I think a lot of people just kind of feel like they give up. But I love the show, the stars in the show, Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin. When I started acting, they were already, I don't know if they started much before me, but they were big stars when I was struggling to just get started. So I've been fans of theirs for, 50 years, and to get a chance to work with them, it's almost like with the work you do, you want to play with the people who are, good at what they do. And Sam Waterston did Law and Order together. Martin Sheen I've known for a number of years, but Lily Tomlin, who played my girlfriend in it, these are people I just have so much respect and appreciation for. So, and then on the set, it's just very inspiring for me. As I've gotten older, I'm sort of the senior guy. I remember when I was starting out, I was always the kid. But now I'm sort of the senior guy, and a lot of times, I'm there to kind of give, a balance, a calming voice, or just, help sort of hold things together. But on Grace and Frankie, it's great to just be there and do the work and see how other people process and do their work, and everybody's on point. So it's a fun show to do.
Okay, definitely sounds like it. So take me through then the process of being an actual actor, because you've been doing it for 50 years. So pretty much your daily routine consists of what?
Well, for me, and this is not very active because everybody's different.
Right.
Certainly, acting is not one of those jobs where you go through 3 years of this and then you're guaranteed the job. You do 2 more years of this and then you get a raise. Acting is you can spend 50 years and not be able to get a job. And a job that you might go to somebody just getting started or whatever. So it's a business that's run by crazy people. There's not a lot of rules because it's just creative people. So, but for me, a lot of my early years were really spent when I wasn't working, constantly looking and focusing on trying to find a job, and then when you get the job, focusing on trying to make sense out of it so you can show up prepared. And so it was never a let-up. So as a result, at this stage in life, I don't have any real hobbies. I've never really taken a real vacation. Not really. I've gone on vacations when it's connected to work. In other words, if I'm shooting in Hawaii, then I might stay over, a few days, a week. But everything, the focus has been so on the work. A lot of it is auditioning. Was in the past. I don't do it as much anymore because honestly, I just don't want to chase it that way. But for an actor, you you may get auditions, you might get, especially during pilot season, you might get 5, 6 interviews in 1 week. And that means you got to prepare for each of those. You can't just walk in a room and they have a nice conversation. They want you to read and show what you would do with the role. So a lot of times I would spend 2, 3 days preparing for that meeting, because everything is in that meeting. You know, if you get the job, it's maybe a couple $100,000, the difference between you paying your mortgage or not. If you don't get the job, you get nothing. They don't even pay for your parking when you come to the meeting. So at every job, you know there's at least 100 people who are up against you. And out of that 100 people, there's probably 5 who really got a good shot. And in that 5, somebody's a friend of the producer who the producer really wants instead of you. So somehow you've got to convince them that you're the best person for the job. And so for that 7 interviews you have in a week, you probably won't get any of those jobs. The odds for actors, probably if you're a really successful actor, you might get 1 in 10 auditions if you're really successful. And that's really being successful. A lot of times people go all year auditioning and get turned down. And sometimes you go back and forth for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you get nothing, and nobody's going to call and explain to you why you didn't get it or apologize to you for all the time you wasted. It's a hard profession that way, and it's like if I go in for a job and I see 20 guys in there who get the job, they may turn out and cast a woman. You know, it's kind of crazy, but that's the world we live in. One phone call, and I'm out here now doing Christmas shopping for my grandkids, but the phone can ring. It could be my agent, and suddenly I'm on a plane tonight to fly to somewhere to do something because some actor got sick and now they need to replace him, or so everything is always up in the air and changing. And so to me, that's normal. To my wife, that's normal, but to a lot of friends and sometimes family, they don't understand. Well, you promised and yet you didn't, because my life, there's no permanency.
Right.
You might get a job, and if you add up all the time that a successful actor works in a year, you might get 30 days of actual work days. The rest of the time is him hustling for a job. That's the reality. And in order for him to be successful, whatever little money he made, unless he reaches a point where he's really successful, has to go back into the craft. I mean, he has to get photos. He has to pay for, just to present himself well, the clothes, kind of just the presentation. It's not a. I'm saying all that, but I've done very well at it. So but I have a lot of friends who haven't been so successful. But it's not an easy business. But that's what to me a daily actor is really about. Finding out what's out there, hustling for the next thing, and that ain't count if you get into trying to make the parties. I got called. I'm in Minnesota, but I got a call Thursday saying they were having an Image Award lunch, and they wanted me to fly out, do the lunch, and then fly back home. I'm like, you know what? I don't think so. But that's the stuff. And there's a party, and you need to go to the party because at this party, so-and-so's going to be there. Maybe he'll see you, and maybe it's living your life on this possibility, and you almost have to reach a point where you just go, you know what, I can't live my life in the hope that I'm going to see Spielberg and he's going to want to put me in his movie, because that, when you're young, you buy into all that stuff, you know. So, you know, those are the difficulties. You know, the other side of it is, you know, when you work, it's fun. You get paid well, you know, for the time. And, you know, and you get to watch it with your family and eat popcorn. And people somehow, they don't understand how the business works. So they see you on TV and they think that's huge success, but that might have been something you did 2 years ago. That money has been spent a long time ago.
Right. Okay. So that right there, what you just said, is very powerful words, especially for people who are looking to get into the acting business as well. So
yeah, no, it's got to be a calling. And you know, I have 4 sons, and I have one son who, but you know, acting is not time. So unless you really have to do it, like I had to do it because I don't know nothing else I could do. You know what I mean? I just have the will and the determination. But if you know, a little bit on the borderline, you can't sustain. It's crazy.
Right. So, what would you say? Now, have you ever done background casted work, or has all of your stuff just pretty much been like featured?
Yeah, no, I never did background. I've never been asked to do background, but I just, the problem in the business for me is that so much of it is on perception. You have 2 people, same training, you know, same ability, but if Hollywood or the business perceives this person is hot or he's special, whatever, they'll pay him $10 million.
Right.
And then the other guy just as good looking, just as trained, but they don't perceive him as being anybody important. He'd be lucky to get paid a few $1,000s. So, I mean, and it's for the same job, same number of words, and same everything. It's all about perception. And when you are seen one way, like you do background, it's 10 times as hard for you now to get featured roles because they go, oh, well, but she's a background player. And you go, well, that was just, to me, ends meet so I can get to this place. But it's hard for people to get that out of your mind. One of the problems I ran into is because as a single dad and as a father, I had to work. So I took a lot of jobs that was work. But then when the real important jobs came along, they went, well, he works all the time. It's not like, so, you know, this is all about image and perception. And, you know, you see somebody and you kind of go, this guy's not all that much, but if they keep saying, oh, the most handsome, the most beautiful, oh my God, and you read that enough, after a while, you start going, well, he must be really handsome because I've read it in the paper, you know, so it's nothing real. It's just, they can create that image.
Right. That's true. So, what would you say is one of the best movies or your all-time favorite movie that you've worked on, been featured in?
Well, you know, I've always been looking for, you know, that role. I don't feel I found it yet. I was watching Denzel in that the new movie he has out now called something Esquire, and it's amazing work. He's really gone from leading man to really creating great characters. So I've known him for a long time, and there's nobody in the business I respect more. He's a wonderful actor. And I've been looking for that role, and like I said, I haven't, in my mind at least, found it. But I love the work in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. I think it was, that character was very dear to my heart. And I still see people, even though it was 25 years ago, people still come up and tell me, you know, how much of an impression that role made. I love The Crow. I've worked on The Crow, and I still get a lot of people who, you know, talk about that. So for me, it's a number of different character. Years ago, when I first started, I did The Great White Hope. And in that one role, it took everything that I had to offer. I mean, it had everything in it. But that was on stage. I wasn't, so I'd love to find that in film. I did that role, and it really changed my life, and it started me working. But I haven't found that in film yet. But I do like I said, I do The Hand Rocks the Cradle, The Crow. I like the character in Oz. I like the character in Congo, the character in Substitute. But I think you almost have to take all of those together to get a sense of me and my work.
Okay, so now, I don't think I heard you mention Ghostbusters. So, what was it like working on that all those years ago? Because that was like,
well, I'm very proud to have been a part of Ghostbusters, but that's something that I had to learn to appreciate over time.
okay,
I was in a movie. It was great to be a part of that ensemble, but it clearly wasn't a movie that I was starring in. But I was part of the team, and I felt at the time it was hard to sort of be given the screen time to really establish the character. Now I look at the movie, and I think the movie is just sort of perfect the way it is. But back in the day, I just felt like, well, wait a minute, why am I not in the beginning of the movie? Why am I not in this scene? So it was difficult in a lot of ways, but I love the movie now, and I meet people who say they grew up watching the movie. They've watched it 100 times. They watch it with their kids or their grandkids. And to be in a movie that touched people so personally, I'm just honored to have been a part of it, but I can't take credit for that, because for me, I was playing a guy who was, I think the work is there, but, it was just a little bit different than the character that I build in, say, The Hand Rocks the Cradle.
okay,
But I'm very proud of it, and I don't. He was, aren't you sick of hearing? I'm like, no, I'm. It's nice to have your work acknowledged. I was in England a few weeks ago, and there were probably 50 guys with their Ghostbuster outfits on and their backpack, and some of them have tattoos with me on my face on their arms and bodies, and that's very special, but that doesn't happen very often.
okay. So, what upcoming projects do you have that you're working on that are getting ready to come out?
Yeah, there's a movie that I feel very proud of. It's called The Family Business, and I play the patriarch of this very powerful family. A guy named Carl Weber, who's a black writer. It's probably about 5 or 6 books in that series. He's written other books as well, but it's based on those books, and it was just a lot of fun to have a chance to develop a character and to carry a movie where I'm the star. I was the star, and for me now, unless I'm actually doing something like that where I actually am involved in the story, I just still be at home. But that's coming out. I'm not sure when they're going to release it. It's called The Family Business. And there's another movie I did for Netflix, just finished, based on a book. It's called Napoli Ever After, with Sanaa Lathan and Lynn Whitfield's in it. But that was a lot of fun. I played this underwear model, which when they first asked me to do it, I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. And then I thought, wait a minute, you mean I got to model underwear? So the idea at my age, wearing underwear on camera is a little bit scary, but we got through it. It was fun to do. So that's coming out. I'm not sure. It's for Netflix, so I'm not sure how they're going to release it. And then I've been doing some fun TV stuff. Lethal Weapon. Um, it's with Damon Wayans. I did that. I think it's going to air on the 2nd. It's coming up soon. But it was a real fun character to do, and it was a lot of fun working with Damon. And that's kind of what at this stage now, I can't buy into all the promises. I just know, okay, this is going to be fun. I just finished an episode of a show called Blue Bloods, and that was working with Donnie Wahlberg on that show. But it was a really interesting character, different, so it's, just finding those things. Grace and Frankie's is going to premiere next month in January, and then probably go into a new season. I think it's been picked up. So, it's always looking for I know in January I'm going to be, The Rock has a show called Ballers, and I'm going to work on that. I think it'll be fun to work with him. I never have before. So just finding those things that are fun to do.
Okay. So all of those will be coming out next year. Definitely can't wait to check you out on those as well. So,
well, thanks.
So another question I do want to ask you is, what would you say is one of the most important things for someone who's trying to get into the acting business to keep in mind?
Well, I think probably for me, the most important thing, which I was told once that if you're an actor, you can't wait to be an actor. People think when I do all these things, then I'll be able to. I think if you ever going to be an actor, then that means you are an actor, so you have to act. You only get better by through the work. So if you can't get into movies or TV, then get on stage. If you can't get on stage, then get in a workshop. But be working on your craft. So much of, I think, what we want is we sometimes forget that you need to prepare. You have to trust that it's coming. That takes faith. But you can't wait. I think a story in the Bible about the brides who were waiting for the groom, and a lot of them fell asleep and just weren't prepared. But the one who was prepared was the one that was taken or whatever. But I think as an actor, a lot of actors, they go and they get the pitches made, and then they wait, and you can't wait. If you're an actor, find a way to apply your craft, and every time you get out there, apply it to the best of your ability, and when you push for your best, you'll only get better. So I just say, if you're an actor, act.
Okay. And that's definitely some of the best advice. So another question I do want to ask you is, over the years that you've worked with some of these top billed actors such as yourself as well, who would you say you've had the privilege of working with that has probably been one of the most memorable experiences?
Well, there's some people. I did a show the first season. I didn't do the second season because I honestly felt they didn't know what to do with my character. So it wasn't. I don't want to just be in a show to be in a show, and I don't want to just make money. And like, why am I here? But I did one season of a show called Graves with Nick Nolte, and I met Nick Nolte about 30 plus years ago. We did a movie called Weeds, and I really like Nick, and I just think he's one of those actors. He's obviously older now, and but he's so on point, and he just he's good at what he does. I mean, he's really. So I loved working with Nick Nolte, working with Jane and Lily Tomlin. It's amazing prepare, but equally effective. And it's really a pleasure to work with them. But I've worked with Betty Davis years ago, Barbara Streisand, some really good people, but Denzel and I, we did St. Elsewhere together. I really still admire his Wesley Snipes. We did Sugar Hill. Wesley was really, we did another movie called The Game of Death, and that was whatever, but I think when Wesley's at his best, he's really special. James Earl Jones was an episode of Roots with him, and James is, remarkable. I just worked with some really, over the years, I've been blessed to work with some really, really, Paul Winfield. We did the Martin Luther King story with Paul Winfield and Ozzie Davis. And Ozzie Davis, him and Ruby D, I have no words to say how honored I was to work with them. And a little before Ozzie passed away, I was in New York, and he was talking to a group of people, and I walked over to say hello, and he put his arm around me, and he said, this man, referring to me, makes me proud to be an actor. And I think that's probably the single greatest compliment anyone's ever given me. I didn't expect it, and Ozzie was just some wonderful, wonderful actors, and everyone is uniquely different. I think it's kind of hard to qualify actors but I think everybody has their own. The best ones bring the best of themselves. I was in college with Merle Street. We went to Yale together, and she blows me away every time I see her work. It's nice to work with people, but it's always good to remind yourself that I bring something to the table as well. I like Lily and Jane, but I know how to dance
too. Okay. So now, switching the topic a little bit before we let you go, what is your opinion or thoughts on where America is right now as a country?
I think we're kind of. I tried to learn to play the guitar. I've never been very successful at it. I don't know why. It's like my mind just doesn't want to accept. All my kids play an instrument. I can't quite get to it. But what I did notice when I was trying to tune my guitar, learning how to tune my guitar, there's a place just before, when it's really out of tune, it almost sounds okay. But as you begin to tune it, just before it gets into tune, it goes into chaos. And it sounds really bad. And it almost makes you want to back off of it because you think you're moving in the right direction. But if you can just push past that discord, you can really get to a place where things tune up. And I'm hoping that's kind of where we are in the country, because some of the stuff is like, it makes no sense. That all of this, to me, is about choice, and why we would choose some of the stuff I see. I can't comprehend it. I don't even know what that's about. So, but I'm hoping that people, maybe after Obama and after some of the things, people tend to panic and want to go back. You can't go back. And I hope we don't move toward hate. This whole thing with, and I shouldn't even mention it, it's so scary now that it feels like if you even say anything, you're going to say the wrong thing. But this, harassment and, the thing that men are accused of, I think we just need to be, first off, there has to be a rule of law, and there has to be some level of forgiveness. I think it has to be based on some of that. I mean, we have to, at the end of the day, find a way to love each other. And So it's a crazy time. I don't understand it, but I'm hoping that that we're just in the process of moving to a much more civil place as opposed to this chaos and moving to another civil war or something. But I do think that we're at a place in our history where we know. We know better. Now, we can still choose badly, but we know better. And I'm hoping that we'll choose the better.
Right. Okay. So now, is there any last regards, anything that you want our readers to take from your interview?
No, I think that one of the things about being an actor is if we're blessed, we can see the commonality in all of us, that oneness, that we're all part of that Christ spirit. And when we can see that, we can let go of a lot of the perceived hurts. We can hold on to the better parts of the past and not the ugly parts and keep recreating it. So I just hope that we can all just remember that we are complete when we're together, and separated we're less than. And that's to me, that's my truth. Is I need you, and when I make you my enemy, I diminish myself.
Right. Okay. So we want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, because I know you